What's up, everybody? Eternal Fire here, bringing you a video guide on the Affliction Warlock and the pre-patched Legion expansion 7.0.3. Today we're going to be looking at some of the spells in the spell book. We're going to be looking at the talent tree as well as the build you want to use. We're going to be looking at the single and AoE target rotations. With that said, let's get into the spell book. First, we have Agony. It's an instant dot. Inflicts increasing agony on the target, causing up to X amount of shadow damage over 18 seconds. Damage starts low and increases over the duration. Refreshing Agony maintains its current damage level. So basically what you want to do is when you cast Agony, it doesn't have any stacks. By the end of its duration, it has should have 10 stacks. And you're going to slowly build 10 stacks of Agony, and when it's at 10, it's going to be doing the max amount of damage. So you don't want to have to repeat, build those 10 stacks. If you just refresh them and you never let it fall off your target, you're going to be maximizing on your Agony. So you're going to want to prioritize making sure Agony is up all the time. Never let that fall off. Then we have Corruption. It's an instant dot. Corrupts the target, causing shadow damage over 14 seconds. And then we're going to go to Drain Life. It costs 4,800 mana per second, channeled. Drains life from the target, causing shadow damage over 5.3 seconds and healing you for 200% of the damage done. That's going to be your filler ability. Then we have Life Tap. Restores 30% of maximum mana at the cost of 10% of maximum health. So when you're low on mana, when you're drained on mana, you just tap that. Boom, boom, done. Then we have Seed of Corruption. This is going to be your main AoE ability. Costs 7,200 mana, embeds a demon seed in the enemy target that will explode after 15.8 seconds, dealing shadow damage to all enemies within 10 yards and applying corruption to them. The seed will detonate early if the target is hit by other detonations or takes 20,000 damage from your spells. So basically, you're going to want to put this up on somebody, put this up on multiple targets in an AoE pack, and when one explodes, they'll all explode and do a lot of damage and apply corruption. So that's your main AoE ability right there. Then we have Summon Doomguard. This is your damage cooldown. It costs 1 soul shard. It's an instant ability with a 3-minute cooldown. Summons a Doomguard for 25 seconds to assault the target with its Doom bolts. Then finally we have Unstable Affliction. This costs 1 soul shard. Afflicts the target with shadow damage over 7 seconds. Multiple casts accumulate increased damage. If dispelled, deals 212% of its remaining damage to the dispeller and silences them for 4 seconds. So what we really want to focus on here is that multiple casts accumulate increased damage. And in the build, I'm going to show you, you're going to want to save up 5 soul shards, which is basically the energy you have. And you can have a max of 5. You're going to want to save up all 5 and then just spam Unstable Affliction. And then we have for Mastery Potent Afflictions, increases damage done by Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, and Unstable Affliction by 48%. So this basically just buffs the damage of all of your dots, which is pretty much all of your damage as a Affliction Warlock. Then we have Secrets of the Necrolite. It's a passive. Your Drain Life is massively empowered, dealing 200% increased damage but not healing. And then Soul Leech, all single target damage done by you and your minions grant you and your pet shadowy shields that absorb 10% of the damage dealt up to 20% of maximum health. So you can get, a nice little shield buff just from the damage you do because of Soul Leech, which doesn't take anything to use. It's a passive. So that is your spell book. Let's go to the talents. We have Writhe and Agony. It's a passive. Agony's damage may now ramp up twice as high. So basically, instead of 10 stacks of Agony, you have 20, which takes longer to get, but does twice as much damage. Again, showing the importance that keeping Agony up 100% of the time is essential. Then we have Contagion and Absolute Corruption. Based on one of these 2 talents you choose, it will change your playstyle a little bit. Contagion is a passive ability. Unstable Affliction also increases all damage you deal due to the target by 15%. So basically, you want to keep that 50% damage debuff on the target as much as you can. So instead of spamming Unstable Affliction, you're going to want to space it out so you can try and keep, as close as you can to 100% uptime on, that damage debuff that Contagion gives. Then we go to Absolute Corruption. It's another passive ability. Corruption is now permanent and deals 25% increased damage. So this is really nice because once you cast your dot Corruption, it's just up there all the time. You do not have to worry about refreshing it, and it does more damage. So, that changes the way you're going to want to use Unstable Affliction because you don't get that, 15% damage debuff on the target from that you get from contagion. So the way you'll want to maximize on Unstable Affliction with Absolute Corruption talent chosen is just save up all 5 soul shards and then spam Unstable Affliction, one after another until you're out of soul shards, and that's how you're going to maximize on Unstable Affliction in this build. Demon Skin is really nice. Your Soul Leech absorption now passively recharges at a rate of 1% of maximum health every 1 second, and may now absorb up to 20% of maximum health. So that's just a good survivability ability. The other 2 are just minor crowd controls. Then you have Siphon Life. This is an instant dot. Siphons the target's life essence, dealing damage over 15 seconds and healing you for 100% of the damage it deals. So not only is it a very good damage over time ability, but it also heals you passively when you use it. And then Sow the Seeds is the passive ability. This is what you're going to want to use if you're on like a boss like Manaroth in HFC, where you just constantly have packs of ads spawning. Seed of Corruption will now consume a soul shard, if available, to embed a demon seed in 4 additional nearby enemies. So instead of having to spam Seed of Corruption, this is just going to do it for you. So, you're going to want to take this if you have, boss fights or whatever, where you constantly have more than, 5 targets at once. So that's your main AoE ability right there. Then we have Demon Circle and Burning Rush are 2 mobility talents. And then Dark Pact is an instant ability on a 1-minute cooldown. Sacrifices 20% of the demon's current health to shield you for 4% of the sacrificed health for 20 seconds. If you have no demon, your health is sacrificed instead. Usable while suffering from control impairing effects. So that's just another, really good talent to take for survival, and the only other options are just for mobility. So if you have a high mobility fight, you might want to consider using those, although be advised, Burning Rush does cause you to lose health. So then we have Grimoire of Service and Grimoire of Sacrifice. Grimoire of Sacrifice: sacrifice your demon to gain demonic power, causing your spells to sometimes also deal shadow damage to the target and other enemies within 8 yards. Lasts 1 hour until you summon a demon. So as a Affliction Warlock, we're going to want to have the Fell Hunter, because Fell Hunters do more damage based on how many dots you have on the target they're attacking. So we're going to have a lot of dots up, so your Fell Hunter is going to do more damage. So we're going to choose that pet. And what we're going to do for Sacrifice is, you have it right here. You're just going to, once you summon your demon, you're going to click that button. It's going to kill your demon, and now you have that buff up here, the top right. So going over to Grimoire of Service, is a passive ability. Summons a second demon which fights for you for 25 seconds and deals 100% increased damage, 1.5 minute cooldown. The rest of that talent is pretty much for PvP, not so much for PvE. So this is just going to be another, if you choose to take Grimoire of Service, it's going to be another damage cooldown that you're going to use with your Doom Guard. Then finally we have Soul Effigy and Soul Conduit. Soul Effigy creates a Soul Effigy bound to the target, which is attackable only by you. 35% of all damage taken by the effigy is duplicated on the original target. Limit 1, lasts 10 minutes. So basically what that means is, you have this ability, Soul Effigy, you're going to pick your primary target, the boss, and you're going to place Soul Effigy. You don't need to place it right next to the boss like I just did, but you're going to place your Soul Effigy, and then you're going to put your dots up on your primary target. And then you're going to put Corruption, Agony, and Siphon Life up on your Soul Effigy. You're never going to use Unstable Affliction or Drain Life on the Soul Effigy. You just want that to be absorbing dots, because 35% of the dot damage that you keep up on your Soul Effigy is going to be transferred to your primary target. So you're going to want to use your Unstable Affliction and your Drain Life on your primary target all the time. Otherwise, you're just going to be losing out on damage you could be doing. Soul Conduit is a passive. Every soul shard you spend has a 20% chance to be refunded. Basically with that, we're going to replace Soul Effigy with Soul Conduit if we have a situation where the boss is moving a lot, or you have to move so much and, so far that you can't stay in range easily of your Soul Effigy or the boss, in fights where there's just so much high mobility that you have to, be incorporating with your rotation. It just wouldn't be practical to have Soul Effigy, just in place all the time, because it's not going to move from that spot. Otherwise, you're going to use Soul Effigy. So now let's talk about the single target rotation. First, when you start, you're going to use your Summon Doom Guard on cooldown. He's going to come up and just do some extra damage for you. You're going to, have your primary target selected. You're going to use your soul effigy. Then you're going to put up agony, corruption, agony, and siphon life, and then click your soul effigy, corruption, and agony, and siphon life. And then all your dots are up. You want to make sure that your dots stay up. You got to keep refreshing them. I recommend refreshing them at about 4 or less seconds. And then you're just going to sit here and wait for your soul shards to get up to 5. And you're just going to keep your dots up, wait till your soul shards are up to 5, and in filler time you're going to use drain life on your primary target. So at this point you're just going to wait. You're just going to wait for that soul shard bar to fill up to maximize on your unstable affliction damage. So let's pretend that we're at 5 soul shards. We're going to make sure our dots are, refreshed, nothing's going to fall off, and we're just going to spam Unstable Affliction on the primary target, and that's how you're going to maximize on damage there. It seems pretty slow. It is a slow class to get going with your damage, but, it does really build damage very well. So, that's your single target rotation. You just put your dots up, keep them up, don't let them fall off. Use Unstable Affliction when you're on 5, when you have 5 soul shards. And then you're going to use Drain Life as a filler in between, and Life Tap when you need to. As far as AoE goes, we talked about that. You're going to use Seed of Corruption. Even better if you can take the talent, and that's going to be pertinent for the encounter you're doing. And then you're just going to keep your dots up on up to 3 targets, because any more than 3 targets it's going to become too hard to manage. So keep your dots up on up to 3 targets that are going to live the longest, so you can get the most effect out of them. And then Seed of Corruption. So that's your AoE talent rotation there. As far as your stat priorities go for the Affliction Warlock, just based on, let's take a look of what your mastery is. It just buffs all your dots. So you're going to want to go mastery, haste, and then crit. And that's the priority you want to use for your Affliction Warlock. Well, that's it for the Affliction Warlock in a nutshell, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.